As scientists scour the galaxy for signs of life, there are some exciting results from within our own solar system. Saturn's moon, Titan, seems to have the necessary ingredients. Testing at the University of Colorado has shown that when sunlight interacts with Titan's nitrogen and methane-rich atmosphere, organic compounds are created.
So these organics are floating down to the surface of Titan, and you can see them in the pictures, and who knows what they're doing once they're there. They could be providing energy to some new kind of life.
Further research is needed to determine if there really is life on Titan, or if it might someday develop. Although its atmosphere resembles early Earth, the environment is vastly different.
It's cold. It's 300 degrees below 0 Fahrenheit, and there's no liquid water. So that's a big difference between early Earth and Titan.
The lakes and riverbeds on Titan were carved out of the ground by something. There's no liquid water on the moon, so what flows on this terrain?
The hills on Earth are made of silicate rocks, whereas the hills on Titan are ice and methane ice. The river channels on Titan are formed by methane rain, as opposed to the Earth river valleys formed by water.
Liquid methane, it seems, rains down on Titan, or did at one time.
On Titan, it is so cold that gas has liquefied, and there are coastlines and rivers and all this terrain shaped by moving rivers of methane. It's just completely intriguing.
Methane is the principal component of natural gas, butane, and propane, all sources of fuel.
There's a lot of hydrocarbons. It might be very light hydrocarbons on Titan. And there's a lot of it. And it burns if you put it in contact with oxygen, so there's a lot of energy out there.
Enough on the surface of this huge moon to supply all of Earth's needs for a very long time.
Well, here's this tremendous supply of natural gas on Titan. Boy, wouldn't it be great to go out there and tap into it and bring it back. But I think that you would find that it would cost you so much to go out and get the methane and bring it back that you would never be able to effectively power anything on Earth with it.
While Titan is Saturn's largest moon, one of its smallest may be even more exciting. It's a brilliant ball of ice and rock called Enceladus.
It's a tiny object. It's only about 300 miles in size, so that's what, about the eighth the size of our own moon. And we've never seen a body that small that has activity on it.
This activity was discovered in 2005 by Dr. Carolyn Porco and her Cassini imaging team. One photo seemed to suggest that jets were coming out of Enceladus.
It seemed very likely to the members of my team that it's possible that these jets are actually geysers. They're erupting from pockets of liquid water not too far beneath the surface.
The closest thing we have on Earth to Enceladus is something like Old Faithful Geyser here at Yellowstone National Park, which is shooting water vapor and water about 150 feet into the air. The geysers on Enceladus are erupting water vapor hundreds of miles into the air because of the much lower gravity there and the fact there's no atmosphere holding them in.
Many geysers have since been discovered, all in a region of Enceladus's southern hemisphere.
They are coming out of these fissures, these big cracks that go on for about 135 kilometers, something like 80 miles. Cracks.
We call them tiger stripes because when we first saw them, they really looked like the stripes on a tiger. There are 4 areas that seem to be ridges or kind of active geologic areas. and the plumes seem to be coming out of these areas. And we've counted about 20 or 21 plumes.
Southern Enceladus is covered in cosmic Old Faithfuls.
Who would have thought that an ice ball about the size of Texas would be alive with plumes and geysers? I mean, it's astounding.
Enceladus is heated in its interior by the tides of Saturn. The Earth's moon is pulling on the Earth's oceans and distorting their shape and producing the tides that we're familiar with here on Earth. But on Enceladus, the planet Saturn is pulling on that moon, and as Enceladus goes around in its orbit, that pull is changing, and the ice inside Enceladus is creaking and groaning and rubbing against itself and creating a lot of heat through friction. We think it's that frictional heat that is producing the evaporation of the water ice that is then escaping through these cracks and making the geysers that we see there.
And there's more. Enceladus's eruptions have clarified a theory of what powers one of Saturn's rings.
We knew there might be jets, something coming from the surface that was injecting material into orbit around Saturn to form the E-ring.
The E-ring is furthest from the planet, about 74,000 miles away.
It happens to be just at the same orbit, the same distance from Saturn as Enceladus. And so it really suggests that it owes its origin to Enceladus. And thickness of the E-ring sort of matches the thickness of particles that were ejected from the south pole of Enceladus.
If these geysers disappear, so might the ring. Ultimately, the liquid jets suggest that there is water on Enceladus. And perhaps something else.
So the search for water is not that, oh, one day we'll be thirsty, so we'll have something to drink. The search for water is guided by our interest in the search for life. It's that simple. Follow the water.